Hi everybody, this is Ro. Welcome back to my channel. I have a story today that is heartbreaking. And it came to mind because I was watching an episode of After Prison Show. I cannot for the life of me remember which one it was. I watch a lot of them. I'm a big fan of that show. And in there, Joe, the host of the show, was saying that he was kind of making a joke, kind of not, but he was saying where at trial, sometimes you could get screwed because you just got a judge that's in a bad mood. You get a bad judge. Sometimes you get a lenient judge. Sometimes you get a judge who went to McDonald's that morning. They got his order wrong. And because he didn't get his Egg McMuffin right, you're going to suffer and you're going to get time. And that story triggered the memory of this story, how I experienced this in my own life. And I wanted to talk through it with you. It's heartbreaking. Adam, when he was in Allenwood, when we first got back together, now let me just start this by saying Allenwood is a very, very high security, maximum security level facility in federal prison. International spies go there, RICO, just a lot of very, very, very serious, intellectual, violent crimes go there. It is not a good place. At least back then it wasn't. Not that any maximum security level prison is, but this was a pretty high security prison. It was right down the street, still is, right down the street from Lewisburg, which is now a 23-in-1 SMU. Is that how you say that? It's SMU, where they're locked down 23 hours a day. Everybody there. It's not just people in the hole. And then Allenwood is one step below that. So it's very, very, very violent. It's very high security. It's very, if you think of the show Lock Up Raw, very much like those places. So there was this kid that comes in. Honestly, I cannot for the life of me remember his name because we just referred to him as the kid. So Adam told me the story about when he showed up. He showed up about 2 weeks, maybe a month before I came back into Adam's life in 2009. And Adam said this kid, skinny little kid, barely 18 years old, if he was 18. I think he must have just been 18 when he caught this case. Walks in like, no idea where he was, never was involved in crime before. He said all of the predators were like, when they saw this kid, this fresh meat on the yard. So Adam became like a big brother and took him under his wing because he was so scared for this kid. And that's what Adam did. People did it for him when he came in at 23, when he was a young buck, although he had already did some time and he was living a criminal life. This kid wasn't. So here's the background story of the kid. He lived somewhere in a rural town in Pennsylvania. Him and his friends, what they did when they would go out on Friday nights, Saturday nights, they would hang out in the McDonald's parking lot and they would drink and they would do young kid stuff. And this one particular evening, it was a Saturday evening, and all the kids showed up at McDonald's. And the kid's girlfriend comes up to him and she wanted to show him something. They had all been drinking already. So she lifts up her shirt and she shows him her new tattoo. And her fresh ink was of his friend's name. She was cheating on him with his good friend. And this is how, in her 17-year-old mind, she was going to tell him, break the news to him. He was in love with her. He didn't know what to do. He was speechless. He was distraught. His heart was broken. He got in his car and he just started to drive. And he drove and he drove and he drove. And he didn't realize he drove onto a military base. The cops were chasing him. And he was driving through the streets. And he drove onto this military base and he's driving through the base. And somehow, miraculously, he lost the cops. And so he parks the car. Now at this point, it's probably midnight. It's really dark out. And he climbs up into what became his bed for the night. He had no idea what it was. When he woke up, he was on top of some sort of armory type of area where he was basically laying on all types of weapons. So when the cops caught him there, he woke up to the cops, sirens catching him, and they brought him in. And so when he went to sentencing, the judge says to him, "Oh, okay. I remember that night very, very well. I remember trying to get to my bridge game, my weekly bridge game that I play with my friends, and I couldn't get there that night because the bridge was closed. Because you were being a menace to society, driving all over the place. My guys were chasing you, and they couldn't catch you. Because of that, I couldn't play bridge that night." And he proceeded to throw the book at this kid who did not have any priors. He was not involved in any type of criminal activity prior to this. He was just A distraught kid who got his heart broken. You guys know what it was like at 17 or 18 years old when you got your heart broken. It was the end of the world. You didn't know how life was going to go on. Your life felt over, destroyed. He was just a kid who got his heart broken. That's it. Well, this judge is all in his feelings because he couldn't play bridge that night. Boo-hoo. And he sends this kid to a U.S. penitentiary. Let that sink in for a second. He sent this kid to such a violent penitentiary where they send international spies. It is segregated by the top of people who are in all kinds of organized groups of people. You know what I'm saying there? And it is like you live in a battle zone. You're always watching your back. There's always something popping off. It is a very, very, very violent atmosphere. He sends this young, innocent, I don't know if you want to bash me for saying innocent, but innocent as far as a criminal. He wasn't a criminal. He was a kid that, yes, did something wrong, but he did something wrong by speeding. He did something wrong by getting in the car after we think drinking. And that's horrible. That's horrible. I'm not saying that's not horrible, but to be punished for speeding and for drinking and driving by going to a U.S. penitentiary for 24 months? What? So Adam did as much as he could for this kid, and he kept him on the straight and narrow, and he kept him on the right path for as long as he possibly could. But then it was time for Adam to move on, and he thought that he left him in the hands of the best people that he possibly could. Well, unfortunately, he went astray, and he got involved with the wrong crowd, with people who led him down the wrong path, with people that I think he felt he needed to get involved with for protection. So a couple years later, Adam asks me, hey, do me a favor, just Google the kid. He should be out by now. I just want to make sure he's doing well. I want to make sure he got out. He's on the right track. So I Google him. He got out. Within 4 months, he was right back in. Caught home invasion. He just got tripped up. He got trapped up in there. He was set up basically by his judge. He was looking at another 4 years and unfortunately was successful at taking his own life while he was inside because he didn't see a way out of this lifestyle. He was victimized, I'm sure, after Adam left. He went down the wrong path because he was set up. He was put in this situation. How else do you thrive? How else do you thrive even in that situation? How else do you survive when you're put in that type of environment at 17 years old? You know nothing about the criminal life. All you know is I've got to survive, and it's survival of the fittest in here. So how am I going to fit in? Who's going to protect me? What am I going to do? And they led him down that wrong path. That judge set him up. That judge set him up because he couldn't play bridge that night. It breaks my heart. And I had to be the one to break that news to Adam. I said to him in an email, I am so sorry that I have to be the one to tell you this because I know you're going to take this so personally because you left him there. You had to move on. And it makes sense. I mean, he wasn't his father. He wasn't his brother. He wasn't part of the family. He was just trying to help him out. And after you left, this is what happened. And it's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking that this happens. So although Joe kind of said it in jest on his show, he was being serious to some extent. I 100% can tell you that this happens. It happened. I witnessed it. This poor kid's family had to lose him not only to the system when he was younger and had to be scared every single day of those 24 months that he was put inside a U.S. penitentiary, a very high security U.S. penitentiary because his judge was in a bad mood that day, because his judge couldn't play bridge. How old are we? Are we trying to help these people out? Are you trying to save the children? Scared straight even if you put them in an alcohol program for a few months, even if you gave them community service for a few months, a couple years, what? It blows my mind. It blows my mind. I just wanted to pass along that story. I mean, there was no happy ending here. There was no wrapping it up with a pretty little bow. There was no making it positive. It's just a really sad story that kid lost his life and his family lost him. You guys keep staying strong, keep loving strong, keep supporting one another through this journey because you're one day closer to it all being behind you. Lots of love from my heart to yours. I'll see you beautiful ladies and gentlemen in the next one.